All right. It is a little after noon. This is the River Rock Animal Hospital on the 15th of November. And this is a framing review. So we're going to do one video on the outside, and we'll walk all the way around, and then one video on the, well, probably one video for the first floor and one video for the second floor, because there's a lot of things. I think the entryway needs to be reframed as per permit set number 4. We've got, so it's kind of not that big a deal. The theme would be there's post underneath each beam, and then a 2x4 wall framed between them, that where the 2x4 wall sinks back into the wall a little bit. And so what that does is it gives us the ability, because I think these beams are 8 inches wide, it gives us the ability to put a 2x4 post, or sorry, a 6x6 post underneath it, and then wrap the post under the beam, so you end up with the wrap lining up with the beam above, the wrap of the post lining up with the beam above, and then the windows are sunk back in there. It's a little detail. It's on permit set number 4. I'll come up with a detail for the way this eave looks. At this point, we might just box it in and just roll with it, because typically we would put decorative boards up there, which we still might do. So I'll look at that. I'll figure that out. So this window wins. This window was installed correctly. Every hole gets a nail. Every other window on the property, they did every other nail, which is not per the manufacturer recommended method of installation. So we just need a bunch more nails. The structural drawings call out blocking in between the trusses, and there's no blocking. That's a piece of cardboard in between the trusses that they spray foamed up against. That's a tricky one, because that's structural blocking, and the roof sheathing nails down into the blocking between the trusses. And this is on the structural drawings, on the details that are stamped. And that's everywhere. I don't know how to fix that. And we're going to run this by the structural engineer, make sure he's happy. We need to make sure that all the so right here we got, like, here's a good example of, so this is edge nailing. Edge nailing is 4 inches on center according to the drawings for this wall, which is a shear wall. This is a shear wall A. So edge nailing, it's 4 inches on center. So they nailed here, they missed here, they missed here, and then up here, and then I don't know, there's like a million of them right there, which is fine. We can have lots of them, but a lot of them are missing, and it needs to be nailed properly at the edge nailing and the field nailing. And for the most part, it's fine. There's just a billion nails, which is fine. But you know, you get stuff like that where you get the seams above the window like that. But you just don't have any bridging effect from side to side laterally for the sheathing. It's just I don't know how that works. We got to make sure that's nailed off to vertical studs on the inside properly. But for the most part, I think it's okay. The big one is just there's no blocking in between the trusses at all. And it's already foamed, so I don't know how that works as far as remedying that situation. Same condition at the top, where we've got the no blocking. and the sheathing only goes up onto the first double top plate. Let me see if I can zoom in and show you that. So you can see there, you can see the second double top plate at the top. And there needs to be nailing from that roof sheathing into the blocking between the trusses. I don't know how to do that now. That's tough. Another area of concern is how the walls are stacked. So we've got a strip of sheathing that is just lined up with the floor pack. You can see the gap at that corner. So I would imagine what the intent was when they're doing these panel systems is that you would sheet to the top of your sheeting would cover the lower double top plate, and then the band of plywood would cover the floor pack and run down onto the upper double top plate and then lock them all together. And of course they just didn't do that, so that's not great. And that kind of runs around here. This is kind of the only condition where we have a wall stacked on top of a wall. The elevator portion is balloon framed, which is okay. I think you get conditions like this where we have a fairly large gap, which you can see light through from the inside, so that's not good. Going all the way up, and then you come over next to the exterior door here, and that goes all the way up. So they just built this thing in big panels, which is cool, but we need to fill in. I mean, there's at the top of this wall here. I mean, this gap is just enormous. It's coming away from the wall there. We'll see if we can see that on the inside when we're walking around. You know, typically you would sheet it going side to side to bridge over the wall studs, and that way it makes the whole building act as one instead of going floor to ceiling all the way up. You know, looking at this, let's see if we can see that with the light. There we go. I'm pretty sure we're missing a couple of blocks in there. So that is what it is. I'm not sure what those trusses sticking out there are all about. Looks like I'm probably just misordered those trusses. Those look pretty clunky, but I don't think the tail, yeah. So I don't know what to do there. That's a whole thing. I think those have to get repaired. We'd have to come up with some sort of solution for that. And then, yeah, I was wrong. So here, we do have walls to stack on walls back here. So the same kind of idea. They just, you know, there's really nothing connecting the top walls to the lower walls. Like there should be some sheeting there, and if there's not sheeting, there should be, geez, I don't know, straps, hold downs. There's lots of different ways to connect those. Right now, they're really just not connected at all. So that's not great. Let's see. Hard to say how they mounted that door. It doesn't look that good. We probably want to make sure that the hose bibs all match. This is a perfectly lovely hose bib. It doesn't match the hose bibs on the front. I'd like to see this hose bib replicated on the front instead of the residential style that they have. And then, you know, it's fine. This blue color would match the stone better than the one on the front, and I'll show you that in a second. Let's see how we got in here. Yeah, it's okay as far as the mounting. Usually I like to see shimming behind the hinges and not above in the middle. I like to see proper attachment at the actual hinges, because that's where the stress transfers from the load of the door through the jamb. So I'm not too excited about that, but it kind of looks like they're in the middle of doing that, so maybe they're going to still do that. This is a good example here where we've got nails, which is fine. They're about 4 inches on center, going up. That's great. And then you turn the corner, and there's no nails on this edge. So it just looks like it's incomplete. They did nail close, but not edge nailed. There's no edge nailing on that. So that's a concern. You know, probably those panels are made in such a way that they just put them together and you have to finish them off. So there's really nothing holding that in place. Got this slab like right up to the bottom of the sheathing. You can already see the water wicking up the sheeting, and that's not the code. You can't have wood attached or right down on concrete, and there's really nothing about the height of this slab that meant that it had to be right here. It really could have been lower. It's a mechanical slab. Could have been gravel. Didn't have to necessarily be concrete. There should have been some sort of tar paper over the sheeting, and then they pour up against the tar paper and then trim the tar paper back, or some sort of waterproofing layer. Could have been like peel and stick. That would have been pretty flexible. So that's definitely something that needs to get addressed, because that'll always be a water problem, and that'll cause rot. Same thing here with the floor to floor and with the blocking or the lack of in between trusses. That's a good corner. You can really see there's just nothing there. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on with that. That's just, it's clearly shown in the details on the structural drawings, and it just didn't happen. So it's nice to see that window has a little bit of flashing on it, although it's not that's not the right way to mount that window. The window should be installed to the wood, so the nailing fin should be attached to the wood on the top and the two sides. And then I mean, this is actually done, it looks unfinished, but it's done correctly. This one is done correctly, where they've got the flashing underneath with the flexible white sill flashing, sill wrap over top of that ice and water shield, which is good. It all steps up, and then the real difference here is like this tar paper should be on top of this, and which is easily remedied. We can install another tar paper layer over the top of this, and it should run down past all of these penetrations here. So just run down, once we get nails in there, the tar paper should come down on top of this, over all this, just over the whole thing, which can definitely still happen. That's pretty easy. So that window is not not done correctly. It's not the end of the world. It's just that when you install a window, you glue the sides and the top of the window itself through some sort of construction adhesive or silicone to the sheathing. And so in this case, it's got ice and water shield there, and there's no proper attachment of the window to the sheathing. So just not to the manufacturer's spec. On these on the stone detailing, this edge should be dressed just like the front, and the edge should stick past. As per the drawings, it should stick past a little bit here. This is okay since you're kissing into this guy, but this guy should come out about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches, something like that, and it should have a dressed edge on this side. This is not installed correctly. So this is a tough condition in itself that we should have something underneath here that comes out. So what's going to end up happening is we'll have a piece of flashing. It's probably the next thing to do. Put flashing up the wall and stick out over onto the stone ledge. And then there'll be a piece of flashing that tucks up underneath this in here. And then we'll caulk that joint. It's always a maintenance issue when you have a condition like that. So you just have to keep up on the caulk that goes in there. So you would take, in this case, you would fill this full of caulk, and then you would tuck the flashing into the caulk to bed the flashing in the caulk. Then you would come back and caulk that from the top to the flashing. Here's the side door, and in this case, the stone needs to be even on each side. I guess I don't really mind one side or the other as far as the look, but they should match each other. It's a little weird. And then also same thing, like that should be a dressed edge and it should stick past. It's particularly bad on this one because we've got the stone here and then the cap goes back. It should stick out and be a dressed edge. You know, same thing on this stone here. On the lower one, that should be a dressed edge and not a cut edge. This doesn't look too bad, so it's kind of a good example of maybe, you know, ideally you would take this guy and you would run it over, and since this has to get taken off anyway to get a dressed edge on it, let's take it over to here, load it tighter, and then run this guy past a little bit. And so the idea is you kind of get this. They're not lining up. The drawing shows them as going past and past, so they kind of get that linear craftsman look to it. This is good looking. This is a good example here. We want to change out these screws back here. We shouldn't use Torx screws. We should use a screw with a bigger pan head on it, not a construction screw. And then I like the color of this matching with the stone. It looks better. Just need to get a better attachment on there. And I know the stone isn't totally complete. There's some little things on the stonework where you just kind of have a little things like that on the corner, and just need to get sweetened up. Kind of go back and point it and make it look good. Again, the entryway needs to get reframed. And then I was thinking that maybe we would take the stone, since we haven't done it yet, after this is reframed, we take the stone and just run it around and run it back to the wall there underneath the windows, and then have the post come down on top of the stone, the decorative the decorative post, if you will. I like the scale of it though. I think it's looking pretty sharp. Yeah, so that's probably everything on the outside. I've got to figure out a detail on how to solve the roof to roof condition. That could look a little bit. That could be a little tighter. And I think I've got an idea on that, so that'll be pretty easy. We'll just do a little kind of a step back subfascia kind of idea. I'll detail it too. Same thing with the entryway roof. I'll do a detail on that. It'll be pretty easy to tuck it in there and make it look really good. I think that's everything on the exterior. Yeah, here's that hose bib that doesn't match the other two. That needs to get changed out. Yeah. Okay. And then we're on to the inside. But it's looking pretty good. I mean, the framing looks good. I like the. Well, I mean, the shape of the building looks good. Yeah, I think it's pretty clean. Yeah, we have to figure out some sort of detail on this, these entry rafters. So probably what we'll do is we'll trim the length of the rafters back, install like a piece of subfascia, and that's kind of easy. And then we'll put some tongue and groove little boards in between the rafters, nailed up to the existing sheeting. So I can work on that. But we probably need some sort of connection from the rafters to the beams. So I don't think there's anything right now. Maybe we could tuck maybe like an A35 or something on top, or come up with some sort of decorative connection there, because I don't think it's probably a couple toenails, but nothing crazy right now. All right. Okay. Thanks, and there'll be 2 more videos.